Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ghibli Month or Ghibli Month.
Woohoo!
I'm not totally sure which is correct. But however way you slice that cake.
No.
Today we watched Castle in the Sky, or I think the Japanese name is the Island of Laputa or something. I don't remember.
Yeah. Okay, actually, okay. Sidetrack. This is something that bothered me. Okay, because like the subtitles, we watched this subbed, and the subtitles was saying like Laputa, right?
Yeah.
But the characters, it always sounded they were saying Lapita, and so I was like, huh? But then if you look at the kana, it's La Puta. So I guess they were just sort of swallowing the ooze. I don't know. Anyway, it
I
was like
think
kind
they
of
might
weird.
have just been swallowing
It
it.
was just I was just like, what? I was so confused, but okay, yeah, it's super minor, but it was just a weird thing that was bothering me.
Weirdo.
I'm sorry, but yeah, it doesn't matter. But yeah, this is their first movie, right? Is that not right?
Like first official one
Yeah.
is
Like
Studio
full
Ghibli.
release or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think Nausicaa was technically, while it was their first movie, I think technically it was not under the Studio Ghibli name.
I guess was that like Hayao Miyazaki's first movie?
Let's find out.
Well, here, let's look it up right now. We got nope.
Yeah, Castle in the Sky.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Nausicaa's not on this main list at all. So, okay.
It's not
Yeah.
part of the original canon.
Yeah, but yeah, okay, because like you can tell this wasn't made like this year, obviously, right? It's
Yeah,
clearly like
yeah.
somewhat old, but it doesn't. It's honestly like if you had asked me to guess what year this was made, I don't think I would have guessed 86. Like
No.
honestly like 96 seems like more reasonable because like there's a lot of impressive stuff in this considering the time. Like the
Yeah.
I
explosion,
know.
the main things that I'm focusing on are the like explosion effects.
Yeah,
And also the
like the general greenery and stuff, like
yeah,
how they.
yeah.
Yeah, it's really impressive. Like you can see like every blade of grass and like leaf and stuff, which I mean, nowadays that's not like people are like blade of grass. Tish, that's like 3D and all that stuff. This isn't 3D, it's 2D.
You can see every texture in every cloud too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the visuals are very impressive considering it was made in the mid '80s.
Yeah. And it's such a beautiful movie. This is like I think
This is scenery porn. This is a
Yeah.
scenery porn movie.
Yeah, like I know people often talk about how Spirited Away has like a lot of like visuals that are really really good and the animation's really good. And I'm not saying it's not as good, but honestly, like if I had to pick which one impressed me more given when it came out, I think I'm picking this. Because I believe Spirited Away was what 2004 or
2002.
something. It was
Yeah.
late 2000. So like, and again, it's good. I'm not gonna say it's not good. It's definitely good. 2001. But I don't know. Like, it's just this was unexpected to me.
Yeah.
Whereas Spirited Away, maybe it was because I'd heard everyone say it was so good. It wasn't. It didn't surprise me as much as this did. So maybe that's part of it.
No, I guess it also comes because a year ago we were watching like Disney movies and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And we saw, I think, when did Black Cauldron come out? That was
That was
think
also in
that-
the 80s.
Yeah,
That
I
was
think
awesome.
I want to say 84. It was something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was not as like like if you compare the animation between the two, it's not even like
It's
No.
yeah.
not even a contest really.
Yeah.
So it's really impressive for the time period and stuff. And I've watched this I don't know how many times because I had the DVD when I was younger, and this might be like my 20th time watching this or something, but each and every time it just the artwork and everything always just blows me away, and the story too. What did you guys think of the story?
Well, this is one of my favorite Studio Ghibli movies, which is why I picked it as like my first pick. I guess I don't know. I always liked because with the visuals, I feel like I always noticed something different every time. Like
that's
this
true.
time, I noticed that the castle was camo.
I think last time we watched it too, you had mentioned that when they're flying over Pazu's town, you can actually see like that it looked like something had bombarded it. Like you see like these craters
yeah.
and stuff like that, and you're like, where did these craters come from? And then you see Lapita's power, and then you're like, oh,
It probably, boom, boom from the sky.
Okay, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, there's like little like craters. I didn't notice it either until like I think the previous time before this that we watched it, and I was like, how did I not notice that?
The world building is very like subtle in some places, and you just have to watch it, and like if you rewatch it, you notice something a little bit.
Yeah, you
every
kind
time.
of notice things as you keep rewatching it and stuff like that. I like the subtle world building with it.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Yeah, and also like just the general like design of sort of the world. It's actually honestly it's pretty similar to a lot of like Ghibli films where it's like the overall aesthetic is like Victorian like European, but like but at the same time there's like airships and like a couple like metallic robots and stuff. But like a lot of films I feel like from this studio have that kind of aesthetic where it's like mostly kind of old, but there's a few things that are modern, but it still somehow works where you think it wouldn't. Like so it's interesting like how this I guess sort of started that again. I guess maybe Nausicaa kind of followed it anyway, but yeah, so I think that was interesting seeing that together in a way that works. So
especially in compare. I'm going to do a huge throwback for all of us.
Oh yeah,
but compare this to Waterworld. Oh, what? In terms of like how Waterworld was supposed to, because Waterworld was trying to do something kind of similar with its world building, right? Because it was supposed to be this world completely flooded. There's ancient ruins, that is like modern, that were cities and all that stuff. But there's also like the technology with the water ships and stuff. Completely terrible movie because it just got bogged down and there's no story behind it and stuff. And even the world building's kind of muddled and you don't really understand it compared to this where it's like Valen, as you said, it works. You understand it and all that stuff. It's like, okay, in this society, airships are a thing.
Yeah.
With propellers and stuff.
It kind of also reminds me of like the original Star Wars trilogy.
Because
like again, you have like the ships and stuff, but then also you have like Tatooine, right?
It's kind of like the Wild West.
Yeah, so it's kind of, and again, I feel like Star Wars usually does a good job at blending that stuff together.
That's true.
So yeah, it's just kind of interesting at the exact balance of it, and I think it's done well. And again, it's something that, like to me, when I notice, I'm like, oh, that's like a Ghibli thing. Which is weird that that's a thing that apparently they do a lot. And like, it's not a criticism, it's just an interesting observation that this is a very similar visual style that they kind of like to fall back to. But if it works, it works. So who's complaining? But so okay, so here's something, because if you remember, I believe I said this last time. I said like, I don't know if I had seen this before.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if I've seen this before.
You don't know?
No, because like I don't remember the story at all. Don't remember the characters at all. Don't remember any of this. But I'm like, the scenery, especially on like the castle, looked familiar. So I don't know if maybe I've just seen like clips of it or something.
Maybe you've seen clips.
Or
because,
my only other thing I can think of is again that like, because I when I took Japanese in high school, we would watch some of these films. And sometimes there were a couple where since they were subbed, if I especially like didn't get a good place to sit, I could not read the subs at all. So it could have been one of those things that I just sort of like tuned out completely because I'm like, I can't read the subs, I don't know what's going on. But that would maybe make sense because I would still notice the visuals, especially with the castle, and it would be striking to me. So maybe that happened. I don't know. So I may have seen this before.
It's still a mystery.
It's still a mystery, and I don't know. I don't think there's a way to solve that mystery.
But at least you can say you definitely watched it once.
Yes, I have definitely watched it once. Yeah, and you were talking about the plot and stuff. I feel like the plot is actually kind of simple, especially compared to their other movies, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Because
I think that's what helps a lot, because I think part of the point is like the scenery also tells the story also in a way, because there's a lot of emphasis on like traveling and seeing different places.
Yeah.
So I feel like the scenery is also supposed to help add to the story, because so the story has to be simple, so it's like, you know, it doesn't get bogged down by everything else.
Yeah, because like for example, I know we talked about this when we watched Spirited Away. Was Spirited Away's story? Spirited Away doesn't really have a plot exactly. It's more sort of a character and world exploration, and a lot of it is very symbolic of like emotions and different stuff like that. And that's a kind of story that if you connect with it, it works really well. But if you don't really connect with it, you just kind of end up feeling kind of like, you know, and that was kind of my issue with Spirited Away, where I don't have that issue with this. So, yeah, I actually connected with this pretty easily. And I was surprised how much I was invested in it, even by the end of it. So,
because all the characters, like, you kind of, even though you understand all the characters, like motivations and stuff like that, like, it's not trying to like as you said, it's not trying to bog you with all these details that all have to come together. There's no like side quests or stuff like that. It follows a simple path, and through that simple path you also learn more about the characters and stuff.
One of my favorite characters is actually Dola, because like there's this line in like the middle of the first half where she says, like, in relation to the government trying to find Laputa, she's like, well, we're pirates. This is kind of what we do. It's kind of weird that they're the ones looking for this, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, I just thought that was so interesting. It gives a lot of insight into her as a character, and also like how the movie is going to treat the pirates. It's like, yeah, they're pirates, but they're not evil.
This is just kind of what they do.
Yeah, it's like their job.
Yeah. Small thing I wanted to say earlier that's related to the visuals. A very small thing that I noticed was shit, I forgot his name. The main guy who tries to take over.
Muska?
Yeah. Is that a lot of the times when you see him, you can actually see his eyes like behind his glasses. And that's very rarely done. Is in like especially in anime, that's very rarely done. And I was just like, huh, that's interesting. So yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to point that out.
He also has different colored eyes than everyone else, and I thought that was also kind of interesting.
Yeah,
he has like light, like amber colored eyes, and everyone else has like dark eyes. I still have no idea if it means anything, but I guess it does make him like kind of menacing in his close-up shots.
Yeah, it does. Like, I mean, well, I wouldn't exactly say these characters, like, most of the characters feel Japanese, really, but if you had to, like, place them or whatever, he definitely feels like the most European.
Yeah.
He's a colonizer.
Well, yeah. So I just thought, again, I think that was interesting comparison with that. And also, speaking of comparisons of things, I'm sure you probably noticed that first big explosion that he launched out definitely had the veneer of the new atomic bomb. So yeah, yeah. It is interesting. Like and I know that I feel like we must have talked about this at some point, but you know, movies that are made by people from other countries, obviously there's going to be a lot of references and nods to like historical events and stuff that's important to that country, and a lot of that, just because we're not from that country, we wouldn't even really notice, right? This was that's particularly was pretty obvious in that sense there, and of course since the US was involved with that, we kind of know what the deal is, but it's just interesting because like I'm sure there's other stuff in this that we just completely never have noticed because we just wouldn't notice, and it's just interesting to kind of think about what that would be.
Actually, speaking of which, there was some things, because I had read on the Wikipedia page some stuff too.
Okay.
And so Pazu's hometown is actually based off of the trip to Wales that Miyazaki had gone on.
Oh.
He had gone when there was a mining strike. and
Oh.
stuff like that, where miners were demanding like their jobs and all that stuff.
Mhm.
And he got inspired by that. So that's why Kazu's town is set as a mining town, but they're like it's evidently not yielding as much as it was and all that stuff. So I thought that was also interesting. And then there's also some references, like they reference like Gulliver's Travels.
Oh yeah.
And they mentioned the Ramayana, and I think Goliath, Sodom, and
yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah. And I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Random
Stuff.
collection of things,
yeah. So yeah, there's some references with all of the. I don't. Again, as you said, I don't know all the other references.
Right.
That probably just went over our head. But yeah, the atomic bomb references was definitely.
Whenever I see it, I'm always just a little bit taken aback again, and I'm like, all right, this is in the movie.
Yeah. I do wonder, like, I'm sure this is not the first thing that's done it, but the whole thing where it's the whole idea of like, here's this like magical, wonderful thing that you're supposed to seek out, that's supposed to be a great thing or whatever, but it actually has this hidden, really dark, very dangerous power to it that someone tries to take over, but then, you know, that whole trope. I'm sure this is not the first thing to do that. I can't think of something on top of my head that has done it previously, but I'm sure this is not the only one. That said, I feel like that's a trope that's especially common in like Japanese media. Especially like anime or like RPG video games, for example. And I'm wondering if one of the reasons why it's so popular in Japanese media is because of something like this film.
Probably.
It could be.
I know that this film inspired a lot of things, like it, especially like the aesthetic and stuff. I know it inspired things like Full Metal Alchemist, for instance, got inspired by this. Some other things got inspired by this. Let me look up on the Wikipedia thing. There were some other like names. You guys can keep talking. I'll just
yeah, well, because like, it reminded me of something specific where I'm like, this actually kind of reminds me of something specific, but I'm like, I can't talk about this. It's a giant spoiler. So
I guess we'll find out eventually, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's kind of interesting that I'm like, wait, I feel like this is a kind of common thing that it happens with Japanese stuff, and I wonder if this was one of the reasons that popularized it.
It very well could be. I mean, this was made in the 80s, like mid-80s. So there was a lot of time for people to be like, I'm gonna make a thing because I feel inspired by this.
Yeah. And again, like when it comes to stuff like this for inspiration, sometimes you don't even really like. It's kind of like a subconscious inspiration, where you're like, I came up with this story, and it's like, okay, but it turns out a lot of your story is actually kind of related to things. Like, for example, so again, I'm running a D&D campaign, and this is a story that I created on my own. That said, so early on, Julie, you know, who's been playing in my campaign, she was also playing through part of Xenoblade 1, and she stopped playing for a few reasons, but one of the reasons is she was like, I kept recognizing some of the aspects of your D&D campaign in this story, and I'm like,
she's not being a spoiler.
So, and I was like, yeah, okay. So it's sort of like a subconscious thing sometimes too, which is kind of funny.
So here are a few things. Apparently, Mega Man Legends was inspired by this. There's a Final Fantasy game.
Oh, which one?
Final Fantasy 6?
VI. Yeah, that's 6.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
The one right before the Cloud one.
Yeah, right before Cloud.
I know 6 is another one that people really like, but I don't know a lot of specifics about it.
I don't know.
Also, Breath of the Wild takes a lot of. Which, yeah, I can see a lot of Breath of the Wild in this too.
Yeah, visually I can see that for sure.
Yeah. And like the aftermath kind of.
Yeah. There's also airships in Mario apparently also show up. That are
I guess. I mean, I feel like airships are kind of.
I don't think
Castle in the Sky started airships. But again, maybe it's the
oh.
idea of popularizing it in Japan. I don't know.
So Pixar films such as Wall-E and Up also kind of took inspiration.
Oh, okay.
Then Atlantis, but we don't.
Atlantis sucks.
We already talked about
Fuck Atlantis.
Hi.
It's a white colonizing clone.
See, they got inspired by the guy here.
They colonized it!
They even had a glowy blue stone in Atlantis.
Can I drop my score of Atlantis to a 1?
Oh my god.
Okay.
You're such a petty bitch.
I am.
But I guess going back on topic, what did you guys think about the characters and stuff? Like you mentioned that your favorite character is Lola.
Well, yeah, she's one of my favorite characters.
I
like Pazu and Sheeta too. They're very adorable children.
Yeah, they're very adorable. I think the thing that I also like is that they act their age.
Yeah.
Which is
they're like what, 10 or 12?
Yeah, something like that. At least 10 or 12 or something. And you believe that they're 10 and 12.
Yeah.
It's not like they're doing anything that like is like, oh, I'm like 20 years old or something like that.
A shrunken adult.
Yeah, a shrunken adult.
Or like the fucking like junior high school students in Law of Ueki.
Where it's like, right,
you're like a 40-year-old man. Holy shit.
Where it's like, right, you're like 12? Uh-huh. Right. Yeah, I totally believe that.
Yeah, no, these are definitely 12-year-old children.
Yeah.
They have no fucking clue what's going on.
Yeah. And they voiced that. Like, they even, there's a whole sequence where even they mentioned the fact that they're actually kind of scared and they're not sure of what's going on, but at least they're together and stuff. And it makes it it's very, like, touching and all that stuff. Because it's like, yeah, if you were 12 and put in that situation, yeah, this would be a horrific thing.
I would cry more than Sheeta did. She didn't cry enough. If I was her, I'd cry.
Unrealistic.
She's a very strong girl.
Yeah. I'm like, the world is so cool, and it makes you think. It's like, I wonder what things happened in Laputa, and then I wonder how like all the other like people are doing and stuff and stuff. It just makes you think a lot about the world and stuff.
Yeah, it definitely makes you want to like think about, more, and like I feel like if this came out like recently, there'd totally be a shitload of like fan fiction about like alternate stories and like stuff like that.
I'm sure there's tons of Alan, you could make a D&D campaign.
Actually, well, there's kind of an infamous like D&D like horror story about a campaign set in an airship, actually.
Really?
Oh, really?
Yeah. Maybe I could send that to you guys so you could listen to it, even if you don't really know D&D rules.
Oh, okay, yeah. Maybe it'll be interesting to listen to.
Yeah.
While we wait for the next Quentin reviews to come out.
3 years later.
Oh boy.
But yeah, in terms of for the characters, I can't really like point to any specific one and being like, oh, I love them or whatever, but I liked all of them, and I think they all were, interesting enough for what they were going for. Obviously, some had a bit more to do than others, but I think they all fit into where they needed to go, and I didn't have a problem with any of them. So yeah.
There's also a lot of death in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of the army guys like just fucking completely die.
Yeah. All of them are dead.
Yeah.
Muska just committed die.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he
also,
did it twice.
Also his helper dudes or whatever just like got yeeted.
Yeah, they were the first ones to die
into the abyss.
In that whole segment, they were the first ones dead. Yeah, his helper dude's dead. The army base dead.
Yeah, all the army. Oh yeah, when he was chasing Sheeta, he was just kind of like power walking.
I know. Yeah, that was kind of funny.
Laughing, and I was like, dude, you have a lot of confidence.
I mean, It did make sense though that he would have the confidence considering.
Yeah,
what
because
Yeah.
he's like, where is she gonna go? There's
Yeah.
literally
Nowhere to go, yeah.
To his knowledge, there's like no way for her to get off of Laputa either.
And she's just a 12-year-old girl.
Yeah.
So I know it's kind of a trope where it's like, oh, the villain has the hero right where they need to stop them or whatever, but then they like monologue or they do this other stuff that allows the hero to like do it. But it's like in this situation, it's like, yeah, logically, what would they be able to do? So like, it doesn't feel
Yeah.
weird.
He is a literal adult, and she is a literal child.
And they're stuck in a castle in the sky, and there's
no way out.
Yeah, there's no way that she's gonna be getting off of it. So, in his mind, yeah,
He could just menacingly power walk.
yeah.
Also, he has a gun.
That too.
Yeah.
She
So,
does not have a gun.
No.
yeah.
Man, he's such a dick.
Yeah. Yeah. Hi. But yay, we're starting Ghibli a month off strong though.
Yep.
Yeah, of the ones we have watched,
Mhm.
the Ghibli movies we've watched, I like this the most actually.
Yay.
I'm not 100% sure what I want to rate it yet though, so I want to hear what you two have to say.
I'm a basic bitch. I mean, I said this is one of my faves, so it's a 10.
Oh,
This is also probably a 10 for me because
You have watched it 20 times.
yeah, I've watched it like 20 times. I think that's already said volumes.
We won't be offended if you don't rank it a 10. It's fine.
well, I wasn't. I
But-
was debating. I was not gonna give it a 10, but I was thinking. Basically, I was wondering whether or not I was gonna give it a 9,
Mm.
and yeah, fuck it, I'll give it a 9.
Yay!
Yeah.
This warms
Yeah.
my soul.
this is also one of my favorite movies, so I'm very happy.
Yeah, it does. It do good job.
Yes. Yay! It is one of 3 movies now with a score of 29.
That's pretty
Yeah.
good.
That's
Yeah.
quite good. Well, it would be nice if the next one was just as good, but probably won't be. Even though that's kind of not this movie's next movie's fault. Although maybe it will be. Who fucking knows? I don't know.
Okay, so the next movie I also picked, but I haven't actually seen it. I've heard.
I have not seen this either.
I've heard.
I
good
know I
things
have
about
not seen this one.
Okay, this one's from 2014, so it's a little bit more recent.
Quite a time jump.
I think it's based off a novel, so that'll make things a little bit different because I think Castle in the Sky was kind of
An
an original
original.
story.
Yeah.
So this is like a Studio Ghibli doing like an adaptation of sorts.
Okay.
It's Miyazaki also did not. This is directed by someone else,
Okay,
but it's produced by Studio Ghibli. So
Right.
yeah. So this next one that we will do next week, because I will be free of finals at that point, is When Marnie Was There.
I know nothing about this one.
All I know is that it might be quite sad.
I have heard that. I have heard that it's quite sad.
I know I've like heard like a brief summary of it, like not like a plot summary, but just sort of like a sort of
Like a
very-
one sentence.
Yeah.
Well, no, it was basically like a description of like how someone felt after watching it. I know I heard
Oh.
that, but I don't remember it. So, yeah. So I'm basically going into this completely blind. So,
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll see what happens when we watch that.
Yep.
mhm, we will. So that is
Bye.
going to be next Monday. And again, I'm gonna plug this because I can. This Thursday is the season 1 finale of my D&D campaign.
Yes.
So
Whoa.
get excited for that.
Get
it's-
hyped.
I mean,
Get
if
hyped!
you watch the last session that was posted, shit already went down, but it's going down further. So
Oh boy.
yeah, but then we go from that to when Marty was there. Fitting, but not. But oh well. So, alright, so yep, that's what's next for us.
Bye bye.
Bye.